Hello and welcome to Skyline's second episode tonight. I'm Driti Atri. And let me ask you a simple question here. What does it really mean to be an Indian living abroad today? Well, for some, it means building a dream career in America. For others, it means leading billion-dollar companies. Some are entering politics, some are changing science and medicine, some are making India proud on global stage. At first glance, these stories seem unrelated, but together they tell you one powerful story. A story about how Indians are becoming one of the most influential immigrant community anywhere in the world. Whether it is technology, business, politics, healthcare, or education, the Indian community is leaving its mark everywhere. But with success also comes new responsibility and new challenges. So tonight, let's understand what is changing for Indians across the globe. Every year, thousands of young Indians move to America with one dream: a better job, a better future, and a better life for their families. Many leave behind parents, friends, everything familiar because they believe that hard work in the US will open new opportunities for them. But sometimes life changes in just few seconds here. Well, a heartbreaking tragedy from the United States state of Kansas has reminded everyone how unpredictable life can be. So recently, 33-year-old Venkatesh, an H-1B professional from Andhra Pradesh, India, lost his life after his vehicle was swept away by powerful flash floodwater while driving through Kansas. According to local authorities, emergency teams launched a large rescue operation involving the Kansas Highway Patrol Air Unit, drone, and multiple agencies. But strong flood currents delayed the rescue operation. Well, his body was later recovered, and the Consulate General of India in Houston confirmed it is assisting the entire family with legal formalities, and they are trying to bring the mortal's remain back. This is not just another accident. It is a story of thousands of Indians working abroad, people who spend years building careers far away from home. Many H-1B professionals travel across different American states for work, for studies, and for family responsibilities. Most never imagine that something as ordinary as heavy rain, it could become life-threatening for them. Experts say that flash floods, they are among the most dangerous natural disasters because water level can rise within minutes, leaving the drivers with almost no time to react here. Authorities in the US reportedly advised people not to drive through flooded roads because even a small amount of moving water, it can sweep away an entire vehicle. Well, this tragedy also reminds us of another emotional reality. When Indians living abroad, they face emergencies, their families are often thousands of kilometers away. Simple procedures become difficult. Legal formalities take time, and governments must work together to help grieving family. While the Indian Consulate's quick response once again highlights the important role of Indian missions play in supporting the citizens during crisis overseas. Tonight, we remember Venkatesh. We are reminding that behind every immigrant's success story is a family that makes a lot of sacrifices. Well, the American dream that offers opportunity. Yes, they do. But you know what? Sometimes it also demands unimaginable courage. And yes, while one Indian family is mourning a heartbreaking loss in America, another story brings encouraging news for Indian businesses working in the United States. Global business is no longer just about profits. Today, it is deeply connected with international politics, trade restrictions, sanction, technology control, and diplomatic relations. One government decision, it can completely change the future of a company. And that is exactly why today's announcement from Washington is being closely watched in India. Well, the United States has now officially removed 4 Indian companies from its sanction list related to the trade with Russia. Well, the companies including RRG Engineering Technologies, Lokesh Machine, Galaxy Bearing, and Shaurya Aeronautics. These firms had previously faced restriction over allegations involving export of technology and industrial equipments connected to Russia's military industrial sector. In fact, according to the US Treasury Department, all 4 companies have now been removed from the sanction list, although no detailed explanation has been provided for the particular decision. Now, you know why this is so important? Because sanctions do much more than creating a headline like this one. In fact, when a company is placed under this sanction list, International banks, they become more cautious. Business partners do hesitate, global suppliers reconsider their contracts. In fact, financial transactions become much more complicated. Even companies that have done nothing wrong sometimes become reluctant to work with sanctioned firms because of compliance risk here. In fact, removal from the sanction list, therefore, it restores confidence. It allows companies to rebuild international partnership and expand business opportunities more easily here. Well, industry experts believe that this development, it could also encourage greater confidence among Indian exporters who are working with global market. In fact, it also reflects the complicated nature of today's global economy. Countries continue balancing diplomacy, national security, trade, strategic interest, and that too all at once. And for India, maintaining the strong economic relation with multiple global partners have become increasingly important. And every positive development that strengthens that particular position here. But yes, while Indian companies are receiving recognition through global business, Indian origin individuals, they are marking the headline for another remarkable reason. Well, Indians are not only building successful companies abroad, they're also becoming some of the America's most celebrated immigrants. That's right. 4 Indian Americans are making history. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine leaving your own country, starting a completely new life, working for decades, and one day being recognized among the people who helped shape an entire nation. Well, that is exactly what has happened to 4 remarkable Indian Americans. Well, the Carnegie Corporation of New York has named Nikesh Arora, Professor Mehzabeen, Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, and Reshma to its prestigious Great Immigrants, Great Americans list for 2026. Well, the honor recognizes naturalized US citizens whose contribution have significantly strengthened America's society in fields ranging from business to medicine to science and education. Well, each of these names tells a different success story. Nikesh Arora has become one of the world's most respected technology leaders. Well, Professor Mehzareen, she has transformed the field of psychology through her groundbreaking research. Then Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, he has spent decades advancing medical education and healthcare. And at last, Reshma, he is one of America's most important biotechnology companies here. Different professions, different journeys, one common connection here, and that is India. Their success, it also reflects a larger trend here. Indian origin professionals are no longer succeeding in just one industry. Well, today they are leading technology industries, they are running pharmaceutical giants, teaching at the world's most prestigious universities and making medical discoveries with innovation and influencing the public policy. Well, for millions of young Indians, these stories carry an important message. Your passport may say India, but your dreams can take you anywhere. Success is no longer limited by geography, it is shaped by talent, hard work, education, and determination. Well, the Indian diaspora has become one of the strongest bridges connecting India and the rest of the world. But with greater visibility comes greater responsibility and sometimes greater challenges as well, because our next story is about a community that is asking to be heard. For many years, the Indian American community was known for one thing: education, hard work, business, technology, doctors, and engineers. But today that identity is changing. Indian Americans are no longer limiting themselves to boardrooms or classrooms. They are entering politics, speaking directly to lawmakers and demanding that their concerns are heard. Well, that's exactly what happened recently in Washington, D.C. Hundreds of members of the Indian American community gathered at the US Capitol during the 5th Hindu Day of Advocacy, organized by Coalition of Hindus of North America. Community leaders, students, professions, they met members of the US Congress to discuss issues affecting Hindu Americans, including concerns over anti-Hindu hate, attacks on temple, online abuse, and need for stronger political representation. The program also focused on encouraging young Indian Americans to participate more actively in American democracy here. This story is significant because it reflects how much the Indian community has grown in the United States. Earlier, many immigrants focused only on building careers or supporting their families. Today, they are also participating in public life. They are meeting elected representatives, organizing community events, speaking about religious freedom, and raising concern whenever they believe that their identity is being misunderstood here. Organizers say that this was not just about one religion, it was about civic participation. They want more young Indian Americans to enter public service, policy making, and leadership positions. Here, experts believe that this marks a new chapter for Indian diaspora. Well, as the community becomes larger and more influential, its political voice is naturally becoming stronger. And for India, this also strengthens people to people ties with the United States because strong diplomatic relations are not built only by governments, they're also built by communities. And tonight's next story proves exactly how quickly Indian Americans are entering mainstream American politics. Well, the political rise of an Indian American, well, that continues. From members of Congress to governors to mayors, and now another Indian origin leader is making history. Meet Aparna Raj, an Indian American Democratic Socialist who has now won Democratic primary for Washington DC's Ward 1 council seat. And if she wins the general election later this year, she will become the first Indian American elected to the District Council of the US Capitol. Her campaign focused on affordable housing, public schools, worker rights, in fact, public transport and support for the immigrant community. Can you think about how much things have changed now? Decades ago, Indians were arriving in America searching for opportunity. Today, their children, well, they are contesting elections, writing policies, representing communities and shaping the future of American cities. Here, political experts say that this reflects the growing confidence of the Indian diaspora. As communities become economically successful, they also begin to participate actively in public life. Representation matters because elected leaders often understand the whole concern of immigrant communities more closely here. Whether those concerns involve education, immigration, healthcare, housing, or maybe public safety. The rise of Indian American politicians, it also demonstrates how deeply integrated the community has become within American society. They are no longer observers here, they are decision makers, and that influence is expected to grow further in the coming years. But yes, while politics shapes the future of governments, one court ruling can change the future of millions of families. Today's biggest victory for Indians in America, it did not happen inside the parliament. It happened inside the Supreme Court. For years, thousands of Indian professionals living in America have lived with one uncertainty. Well, what will happen to their children? Well, many Indian families work in the United States on H-1B visa. Some have spent decades waiting for permanent residency. Many children are born in America while their parents, they remain stuck in green card backlog. And that is why one recent decision by the US Supreme Court, it has brought a lot of relief for them. In a landmark 6-3 ruling, the US Supreme Court rejected an executive order that sought to restrict birthright citizenship. Well, the decision preserves the long-standing constitutional principle that children born in the United States are American citizens, including those who are born to parents living in the country on temporary visas such as H-1B, L-1 and F-1, as well as other categories covered by existing constitutional protection here. Community leaders and legal experts, they say that this judgment provides significant reassurance to Indian families living and working in America today. This particular decision, it carries a lot of importance for the Indian community. More than 1 million Indians, they are stuck in America's employment-based green card backlog. Some families have spent maybe years waiting for permanent residency. Children, they often grow up in America while their parents, they continue navigating complicated immigration procedure. Well, the Supreme Court's decision means that those children will continue receiving the citizenship at birth under existing constitutional protection here. In the meantime, immigration experts say that this ruling provides stability for thousands of families planning their future. Community organizations across the US welcomed the judgment, though, describing it as an important affirmation of constitutional right and equal citizenship. For many Indian parents, this decision removes one major uncertainty about their children's future. It also highlights another important lesson, though. Immigration policy may change, governments may change, but constitutional protection often provide long-term stability. Well, for Indians living abroad, understanding these legal developments has become just as important as understanding visa rules themselves. But yes, while America debates citizenship, India is now making life easier for millions of overseas Indians through a major digital initiative. For decades, overseas citizen of India cardholders have carried a physical OCI booklet whenever they travel to India. It became one of the most important documents for millions of people of Indian origin living across the world. But now India is taking a major digital step that could make travel much easier for them. The Government of India has officially launched the new digital EOCI card, replacing the physical processing with an electronic system. You know, this new platform allows OCI holders to securely access their documents digitally, upgrade passport details online, and complete application electronically and enjoy faster immigration processing. Existing physical OCI cards will continue to remain valid though, while new applicants and future renewals will gradually receive the digital version. This is much more than just a technology upgrade. For millions of Indians living abroad, paperwork has often been one of the biggest challenges while traveling back home. Passport renewals, document verification, OCI updates sometimes require multiple visits and longer waiting period. Well, the new system aims to reduce that particular burden. Officials say the entire process has been designed to become faster, safer, and more convenient. Future plans also include integration with facial recognition system at Indian airports, making the immigration even smoother here. For the Indian diaspora, this is another sign that India is increasingly using technology to stay connected with its global community. Today, the Indian diaspora is one of the largest in the world. Millions of people live, work, study, or maybe they are just doing business abroad while maintaining strong emotional and family ties with their homeland. Making travel easier, that's not just about convenience. It's about strengthening those relationships because no matter where Indians live, home will always remain important to them. But yes, while governments continue improving technology, sometimes the biggest connection between two nations come from a simple human kindness. When many foreigners think about visiting India, they often hear different opinions. Some are excited, some are nervous, some arrive with a lot of questions, but every now and then one experience completely changes those perceptions, right? Well, this is exactly what happened to an American traveler in Delhi. American traveler Sierra Lilian recently shared a video describing how she left stranded in Delhi after her phone battery died. Unable to book transport, use maps, or contact anybody, she found herself in a very difficult situation. A local man, whom she affectionately called Uncle G, not only helped her charge her phone but also welcomed her into his home, offered her chai and buttermilk, introduced her to his family and surrounding, and stayed with her until and unless she could safely continue her journey. She later described the whole experience as true meaning of the Indian phrase here, Atri Devo Bhava, that means guest is God. Her story, it quickly spread across social media. Thousands of people praised the kindness shown by the local resident. Many viewers said that the simple gesture reflected the warmth for which India's hospitality is known for. Of course, every country has both positive and negative experiences, but stories like these remind us that ordinary people often become the real ambassador of a true nation. Traveler may forget a momentum, a tourist attraction, or maybe a hotel, but they rarely forget the people who helped them when they needed it the most. And that is why India's tradition of welcoming the guests that continues earning admiration across the world. Sometimes one kind stranger does more for a country's image than any official tourism campaign. Well, every story we covered tonight, it may be different, but together they reveal something much more powerful. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's Syline. From heartbreaking loss in Kansas to hope for Indian businesses, and from remarkable achievements by Indian Americans to growing political participation. From a landmark US Supreme Court ruling to India's digital EOCI initiative, and finally to a heartwarming reminder of Indian hospitality. Tonight's story proved one thing: the Indian story is no longer limited to India. Well, it is being written across the globe. Well, thank you for joining me. I'm Driti, and I'll see you in the next episode.